morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As usual, we would start with the motivations. Again, try to settle down your mind by focus on the breath for a few moments. And we can think that the purpose of my life or meaning of my life is to be helpful, beneficial, not only to oneself but for all sentient beings as much as we can. And to help not only to relieve them from the suffering, but also to help them to overcome the cause of those suffering, all the delusions. And to be able to help them not only to have, obtain samsaric pleasure, but long-lasting happiness or fully enlightened state. And to be able to do that in the most beneficial way, we ourselves have to actualize our highest potential, the fully enlightened state, as soon as possible. And to be able to achieve that fully enlightened state, we need to cultivate and fully develop the awakening mind of the bodhicitta mind, and wisdom realizing the emptiness. And all other realizations. For that, we have to contemplate, meditate, practice correctly, continuously. And for that, we have to be reminded of those practices again and again. For that very reason, I'm going to listen, engage in discussion, reflection, contemplations. May our time here be cause and conditions for us to develop to reduce those negative emotions and to increase those positive emotions. Okay.
Page 73. Praise the Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder,
the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and big beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakakan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, and you said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise men, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom worship over the mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Thus free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one bound to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, in all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. The star, a visual apparition, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death.
the top of page 80, or it might be on the bottom of 79.
Om Gate Gate Parasate Parasangate Bodhisattva Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva.
81. Extensive dispelling of hindrances. I and all surrounding sentient beings go for refuge to the Buddha, go for refuge to the Dharma, go for refuge to the Sangha. We prostrate to the Great Mother Brahmanita, surrounded by all the children and by the assemblies of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. By paying my prostrations to all of you, may these words of truth be actualized. In the past, the Deva King Indra dispelled the Maras by reflecting on the profound meaning of the wisdom gone beyond and reciting the profound words in daily recitation. In that same way, I also reflect on the profound meaning of the Great Mother Brahmanita and recite the profound words in daily recitation. May all diseases, spirit possessions, bad conditions, all the negative directions, that which happens due to past karma and immediate conditions, may all this be dispelled. May it become non-existent. May it be pacified.
Page 98, the short mandala offering. It could be at the bottom of 97 in some of the books.
Go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam Soki Chodam La Chanchu Bardu Dagni Tatsuchi Dagi Chonen Gibe Sonamgi Drola Penche Sangye Drupasho Sangye Chodam Soki Chodam La Chanchu Bardu Dagni Tatsuchi Dagi Chonen Gibe Sonamgi Drola Penche Sangye Drupasho.
So last week, we went through one of, I think, verse number 39, 38 and 39, and we went through mostly discussing about the disadvantage of the attachment in general, and how attachments lead us to a lot of conflict, a lot of problems, a lot of sufferings in this life, as well as how that attachments, out of attachment will create negative karma, source of more suffering, more problems, more pain in the futures. We also discuss how attachment is one of the main cause that tied us in the samsara. Is the main cause which doesn't allow us to achieve liberations and fully enlightenment. So it is the one which chain us in samsara endlessly. So we talk about that in general. And now with the verse, next verse, starting with verse number 40, then Shantideva goes more on one particular specific attachment. Last time we were talking about attachment in general. But this one, now he goes through more details on one particular attachment, and that is attachment to the body, attachment to the sex, that particular. And this he give advice in general, because as you know, he gave these teachings in Nalanda monastery to the audience of the monks. So you have to also understand the background, the audience, so you don't have misunderstanding. Same with when you read Nagarjuna's letter to his friend, king friend, or Precious Garland, also which is again advice to one of his king friends. There and this Shantideva has similar, almost same. And in that, Nagarjuna's writing, advice is to the king. So therefore is advising him to let go of attachment to the ladies, the wives, okay, mainly. But we should refer to everyone, but and same here, because he's addressing to the monks, so their attachment will be to the women's. And so therefore the object of attachment here, he discussed women in that. So we have to understand that context and not to take it so personal and out of context in that, not audience, because he's referring to audience, that particular. And of course, he's, for the monks, one of the reasons why they lose their celibacy vows, or one of the reasons why they are unable to continue in their path is because of being attached to the women. And so to help them to let go of that attachment so that they can continue in their path and be able to continue in their spiritual path without having to give up their celibacy vows and monks. So that is advice. Even though it is given to the monks particularly, but again, it's same to everyone. Also in a family, lay persons, due to attachment to women or men, a lot of people, family get in trouble. A lot of families are broken because someone become unfaithful. And they become unfaithful because they are attached to the other, someone else, or there is man or there is woman. And so that is also for lay, it is also problems, being attached. And also, when our relationship is built on attachments, attachment to the figure, the bodies, then again, such relationship will not last. It will be not stable. Because our figure, our body changes. When that changes, your relation started to change. Because your relationship got in the, because on the basis of that, instead of something much more higher purpose. On the other hand, when we get in the relationship with much more higher purpose, with the responsibility and better understanding and trying to help each others, then such relationship will be much more stable, reliable, stronger. And also you see sometimes people are so attached, certain individuals are so attached to figure, body, and the experience of sex. They get a really big trouble. Some of them have much more attachment, and slowly it leads them to addictions. And then they have such addictions is much more worse than addiction to drugs or alcohol. And I've even seen some people who express they are able to overcome addictions to drugs, substances. They have become sober for many years, but they are finding much more difficult to overcome some of the addictions that they have in that particular area. And so therefore, it is relevant also the lay practitioner families. And relevant also not only at that time, also this time. And so I have to give a little bit of that context and background, because sometimes people, if you don't know that, when they read it, they might have some misunderstanding. Same with Nagarjuna's writing in his two writings, because the audience. Okay. So verse number 40. For the sake of women, so of course for the men it will be for the women, then it will be the man. The object just changes. Instead of the women, it becomes men. Many requests are first of all made through go between. All form of transgressions and even notorieties are not avoided for their sake. So what it is saying is, if we get in a relationship due to attachment to someone's body, and due to some attachment to the experience of sex, because from that kind of that. Yeah. So of course it's more kind of, some of the circumstances might not be exactly same, but this is more kind of referring at that time when they have more kind of arrangement marriage. Okay. So when you are out of attachments and when you ask for the hands of that someone, so there's back and forth going in between, talking back and forth. And so in order to get the object of your attachment, whether it's man or whether it's woman, and so in between they go talking back and forth. And not only back and forth, when you are so attached and when you desperately want that, then people are willing to go through lying sometimes. Even when they don't have as much wealth, they may pretend they have wealth. Sometimes even they don't have as much education, they might pretend they have education because they want to impress the others no matter what, impress the others to get. So then there will be creating a lot of negative karma in order to that, in process of that. In order to impress the object of attachment and to get that object, people are willing to go through, create unethical or that kind of lying, pretending, and so forth in that way. To get that, sometimes people are willing to go through willing to do all kind of things. Which means some of them are not healthy virtues. They are willing to go through because the attachment drives them so strongly and make them blind. In order to get the object of their attachments, they are willing to do a lot of break the laws and create a lot of negative karmas. And so why do we create all this kind of, why such people create that kind of negative karma? By lying, pretending, and so forth, or sometimes even going against the law, become unethical, and so forth, because basically driven by the attachment, because of that attachment. And so that is and then verse number 41, I engage in fearful deeds for them, and will even consume my wealth. But all this body of theirs, which I greatly enjoy in sexual embrace, are nothing other than skeleton. They are not autonomous and are identityless. Rather than being so desirous and completely obsessed, why do I not go to the state beyond sorrow? This true translation I want to check. The other translation. Nor act of frightful risk, nor lose ruin of possessions, for all the pleasure and perfect bliss that utmost penetrate kiss. What is truth is nothing but a heap of bones, devoid of self without autonomous. Is that the only object desire and lust? Sooner pass away all suffering and grief. So, here is saying, that's why the fearful deed for them, that one is the translation. So, it is saying that in order to get, driven by that strong attachment, and in order to get the object of your attachments, and sometimes by getting into that relationship, you might be in a danger yourself. And you are willing to go through that kind of danger and fearful in order to get. And just like you see someone, sometime in certain relationship, their parent, their friend doesn't approve and they can be beaten up, that you often see. Maybe not this part of the world any much more, but definitely in that part of the world, when someone, you often hear about those kind of news in Pakistan or many different kind of places, where two boys and girls run away and their parents didn't agree, and then sometimes they are even killed, beaten, killed. So sometimes even you have that kind of danger, danger to your life. And there's a lot of fear. Sometimes people are willing to go through because the attachment is so strong that the fear and danger, they are willing to go through that. So that happens because of attachment, strong attachment, not being able to let it go. Also due to that attachment, here is saying you spend a lot of money and wealth to impress and impress the others. And of course, in terms of sometimes people take a lot of loans, even when they don't have wealth, to get in an elaborate marriage and celebrations and party like that, in order to impress the other party. A lot of people get, in some part of the world, a lot of people get in a lot of debt during the marriage time because they have to spend so much elaborate. Even they don't have the money, they take the loans and they end up being in the debt for so many years like that. And so again, a lot of time is attachment and wanting to impress. And so that is why we'll even consume a lot of your wealth, and not only consume wealth, in some cases in unnecessary, in such huge debt and so forth. And so, of course, here we are talking about getting in marriage and relationship, particularly out of attachment in that particular things. So it's more on that. Someone who is in relationship, in marriage, who is not driven by that kind of attachments, is a difference. So here we is talking morally for all those who are in that, particularly in that area, okay? And so, but the very bodies of theirs, your partners, which I greatly enjoy in sexual impress out of attachments, if you look from one perspective, they are nothing other than skeletons. It's if you go beyond the just the outer appearance, if you go just beyond the outer appearance, but beyond that, a more deeper level, then it is a, if you look, it is a skeleton. And when we talk about skeleton, is it object of attachment? Do you get attachment to the skeleton? So it is like a makeup outside, but inside the frame of that is just a skeleton, bones. So here he's saying when you realize, when you think in that way, then it helps us to let go of attachment. And if you don't have attachment, then you suffer less. Then relations is better, more healthy. And so, when we go to some places, hospital or some other places where they have the skeletons of the human beings, when you look at it, it's scary. It doesn't arouse any attachment. They're there. Scary, fearful, disgusting. And so here he is saying, if you go beyond just the external outside appearance of the what is just the skin, but if you're beyond that, then that is that, and when you really think about it, then it can help us to let go of the lust, the attachments. And if you think even further, just that human beings, what you call skull, inside skull, the brains. If you look inside the eyes, the holes inside the nose, every part of that, it is not an object of attachment. Definitely it's not an object of attachment. But a lot of time, even though that is the reality that is inside, it has been covered to somehow. The image is different, the appearance is different. And when we don't see that, when we don't reflect on that, then attachment can arouse very strongly. But at that moment, if we can reflect, contemplate, and if we can have very strong of that, then our attachment can be subside and reduce, minimize. So the object of the meditation, contemplation on those, this is to subside, to minimize those attachments, because it's cause of problem for both. And a lot of time also, in relationship, when someone is so strongly attached in that kind of sexual imbalance, lovemaking or that, then it can have a very negative, because they wouldn't think about other partner, They might be forcing them, even when they don't want, or they are not interested. And that is going to be a cause of crack in relationship. And when you're so strong, if the other doesn't agree, you get upset, angry. And if the other person is not interested, but because to please him or her, because otherwise he or she will be upset and angry, then that will create resentment over the time. You are doing something which you don't feel like you want to do, but you are doing just in order to please them, in order to keep the relationship or something like that. But inside you are not happy about it. So therefore it started to create resentment. And that can lead to negative consequences in the long term. And so therefore again, that is how such attachment can be if someone's attachment too strong, then that can really have a strong negative impact in that kind of relationship. And then so if you analyze this deeper in that way, the nature of our body is not so attractive and so pure as the very nature of it. It is not as attractive, as not as pure as it appears to us outsidely, appearance. And so those appearance can be deceptive a lot of time. And so another, whatever pure, attractive that it appeared to you, which you are attached to and lust to, that attractiveness, that beautiness that you are attached to, that itself is not exists from its own side autonomously without depending on many other causes and conditions, independently by itself. When you see something attractive, in these cases we are talking about body, particular body, attractive, beautiful body, which you are very attached to, it's a combination of so many causes and conditions. Your mind, your perceptions is one key there. Whether that body looks attractive, beautiful or not, more than the body from itself, it is more your perceptions. Influence of the society. In certain society, certain figures are more attractive than others. In certain world and certain society, certain time, certain shape, figures are more attractive, more beautiful than others. Or the shape of the person's face is whether it's beautiful, attractive or not. It depends on according to different society, different cultures, different time. Like the fashions changes. At one time, round is beautiful. In some cases, round is no more anymore beautiful. Long is more beautiful. In certain society, round is better. In certain society, round is not better. In certain society, certain culture, in certain time, little bit bigger is better. In certain society, in certain time, skinny is better. So what is really beauty and attractive? It changes from place to place, from society to society, from time to time. So many causes and conditions, but for our appearance, when you are attached, that beautiness, that attraction with attachment is there. Nothing to do with society, nothing to do with the time, nothing to do with my perception is there. And therefore, I need that to give me satisfactions, joy, happiness. I need that, not only that particular, because that is where the beautiness, the attractiveness, the object is there. So when we realize whatever I'm attached to, that form of body, figure, face, that I'm attached to because it appears so beautiful, so nice, so attractive, whatever that object of attachment, when you recognize and understand, it's not solely there, it's coming from so many causes and conditions, not independently, autonomously from its own side, but so many causes and conditions. Then your attachment to that object decreases, subsides. Your wants of that object so badly become more less. So then you begin that the way things appear to you and the way things really exist is not exactly the same. And so not following what the appearance is, but actually contemplating what is the reality. At the moment, instead of trying to find out what is the reality, we just follow the appearance, believing that is the reality. And that leads us in a lot of trouble, a lot of time. Also that recognizing that, understanding that you cannot enjoy the other's body autonomously, independently by yourself. And you cannot own that body to yourself. It's someone's body. So therefore you don't own that by yourself. And you cannot experience whenever you want all the time. But when we have attachment, that attachment can lead us to make it blind and to see as though we own that body. And then we can do whatever we want. We can use whatever we want. I should be able to use it whenever I need it. That kind of attitude or mentality arises when we have strong attachment and when we get blinded by the attachment. And that is why we see in the news from time to time where people are being abused physically, violently, sometimes killed because the other was not ready. They were not listening to them. And where did that kind of mentality arises, that kind of attitude arises to think that they can use whenever they want, anytime they want, as though it is like their cup, some personal object like that. That comes when there is strong attachment. When strong attachment arises, strong attachment, it kind of blinds us from seeing the reality. And then in that moment, people can feel that kind of mentality, that kind of attitude mentality as well. Of course, also there is some influence of societies, cultures of that time as well in certain areas. But definitely a lot of time those, so is ignorance, a lot of things attribute to that kind of mentality. But definitely also attachment strongly playing huge role in that. So when we recognize that, when we understand and recognize that, and then we will have less attachments and less misperceptions, attitude, and so forth. But when you feel you own that, it is yours, and you can experience or use it autonomously, independently by yourself, then that kind of attitude and that misuses comes, and that kind of unhealthy things happens. And so realizing, understanding that you don't own that, you don't possess that, it doesn't belong to you, that you cannot experience and use it autonomously, independently by yourself, just as you want. And so, again, those can help us to have a much more better, more respect, understanding towards your partners and their feelings, their needs, instead of about being, it's all about my needs. But when attachment arises, it becomes like it's all about my needs. If you don't give me, if you don't fulfill my the joy of my attachment, you are useless. What is the point of our relationship? It can occur to someone's mind if their strong attachment so strong, overwhelming so strongly. And due to that strong attachment, you feel the purpose of relationships only for that. And you feel that you need to have that, feel like anytime, every time you want. And so that can be a really, really very, very strong cause for our unhealthy relationship. When you have less attachment, then it's not about my needs. It's more about our needs. What you want, what I want, how we can do. But when you have strong attachment, it's all about that attachment, fulfilling that attachment. And then it's all about my needs. I don't care whether you don't feel like it or not. I don't care whether you are not feeling well or not. That kind of attitude, mentalities can come when it's driven by strong attachment, overwhelmed by attachments. And so, with that kind of attitude and mentality, of course, how can there be any healthy and positive relationship? It can't. The relation will not last. And so he said, rather than being so desirous and completely obsessed due to that attachment, so obsessed, due to that so strong obsessiveness, lust, due to that attachment, and then leading in so much problems and pain, suffering that we just spoke about today, last time. Instead of that, why don't he say, why don't you let go of that attachment? Why don't you let go of that lust? Why don't you let go of that craving, that obsessiveness? And instead, why don't you try to find the happiness, long-lasting happiness of liberations beyond the sorrow? So what Shantideva is advising is, instead of being so obsessed and attached to the temporary samsaric pleasure that comes from lovemaking, why don't you work for happiness and blissfulness beyond the samsara, which is long-lasting, true happiness, true blissfulness. When we are so attached and obsessed with this samsara pleasure of that, then you forget about the happiness, the pleasure, the blissfulness of liberations. You get too caught up in that. You don't have the time to think about that. But when we are able to let go of those attachments, then we have time to reflect, contemplate on the happiness and pleasure of nirvana beyond the samsara, and to work towards it. And by working towards it, eventually achieving that kind of blissfulness, that kind of happiness, that kind of lasting joyfulness. And that is much more better. It's a cause of happiness for oneself and others. It's not cause of pain and suffering for oneself and others. It doesn't lead you into a problems, conflict, negative, on the attachment to other happiness, samsaric happiness, lead us and others into a conflict, problem, and pain. And so, and then verse number 43. In the first place, I made effort to lift her veil, and when I was raised, she bashfully looked down. Previously, whether anyone looked or not, her face was covered with a cloth. And now, why do I run away upon directly beholding this face which disturbed the mind, as it is being revealed to me by the vultures? So here again is, of course, is a little bit gross, because we are talking about gross. Maybe it might not be as gross now here, and also culture, little culture, like in Indian culture, when they get married, when the women come, they cover their face, veil, especially the night of their honeymoon after the marriage. So of course, when the first night after the marriage, when the man, especially now, also that has changed. Maybe it's not same, also, but that is still in some places. Still, the culture is very much there. Some places, maybe if not more anymore, that culture is there. But anyway, after the marriage, the first. When they first meet, then the man tried to lift the veil to see the face, and the woman is kind of shy and looking down, kind of. So that is describing that. So the woman is kind of showing sign of being shy, looking down, and the man is trying to look at her, opening the veil and trying to see her face, and that. So that is the man who is so attached to that woman's face and body, and because so attached, he or she want to see, the face and the body so bad, so he try to unveil the veil, and then from the other side there is expressions of kind of shyness in that way. So in that sense, at that time, whether someone is looking at her or not, whether you are looking at her, she is covered by the veil, and the man desperately want to see, open the veil and see, because he or she is so attached, wanting to see that face, that body so badly. So there is so desperate and so wanting all the time to see, to open that veil and to see that. And so here he is saying now, that person, when he or she dies, she dies in these cases, die, and when he's in kind of cemeteries, of course in the past, maybe there's sky burial and so forth, so therefore there is vulture in those sky burial. So it's saying the body there now, the dead body of that person which you are so attached to, and which you wanted to see the face and body all the time, because so attached to that, now here in cemetery, taking away all the veil, no veils, open by vultures or whatever that is, any insects, whatever. So instead of being attachment, which you are so attached so far before, why do you your mind get disturbed by seeing that? The naked bodies of that persons. Why do you get your mind disturbed by seeing that naked body, and why do you try to run away from it instead of being attached to it? Wasn't that the same body that you had attached before? And he's saying, isn't that the same body, same person, same face that you are so attached to, which you are so impatient to take away the veil? Because of your attachment, so impatient, wanting to see that the face, the body, so impatient. Isn't that the same? So you should be more attached now, fully. So why do you not get attached now? And why do you try to run away and your mind disturbed here? He's saying, it's the same person, same body, same face. And of course, now we don't see the vulture, but like even you see in a dead body eaten by the insects, for example, in the cemetery, if you open the coffins, it's the same body, will you get attached to that? Will you get attached to that body? But it's saying it's it is not a different body, it's the same body, same persons. You are so attached to. So he is saying, if you are not attached now, then you shouldn't be attached to the same body in before. So he is saying that it doesn't make sense that you get so attached to one time to the same body and being so disturbed your mind and trying to run away from that at another time, because it is the same person, same body. So that is and then 45. Previously, I completely protected her body when others cast their eyes upon it. Why miser, do you not protect it now while it is being devoured by those birds. So here he's saying, in the past, when you are so attached, out of that attachment, then you become a very jealousy. And so when someone tries to look at her, your mind gets disturbed, unhappy. When you see her talking with someone, you get disturbed, unhappy, because of the jealousies. And that jealousies comes because of the attachment. If you don't have attachment, you wouldn't have that jealousy. But because of attachment, that leads to jealousy. And out of that jealousy, then you started to become suspicious. Unnecessarily suspicious. You see someone looking at her, then you started to be suspicious. Your mind disturbed, unhappy. And then if you see them talking, smiling, laughing, more suspicious, especially. And so all this. So you can't bear someone seeing, looking at her, someone talking with her, someone being friendly with her, because you become so obsessive, controlling, so obsessive, coming out of attachment. Due to attachment, people become very obsessive, very controlling, very possessive. And so they cannot bear and handle someone looking at them, being nice and being friend in that way. And so that will become very attachment in that way. And we suffer so much. And we create so much problem for the others. Not only you suffer because of your attachment, not only you suffer attachment because suspiciousness, all these unbearable, all these things, not only you suffer because you become more obsessive, possessive, controlling, then you create problem for the other partners. Nobody wants to be controlled. We don't like to be controlled, so how can you expect others wanting to be controlled in that way? But you start becoming controlling in that way when you are too possessive, obsessive in that way. And that comes from attachment. And so when someone tries to control someone, and when they are so too suspicious, and when they don't totally trust them, of course nobody want to be in that kind of state. The relationship wouldn't last when there is no trust. But when you become so attachment, jealousy come, and then you become suspicious, and that means you are not trusting that person, your partner. And so that affects you, it affects others, your partners, and it affects everyone. Everyone suffers. And that's because of attachment. And so here he is saying, you are so protective because of your possessiveness of controlling. You try to protect her all the time. If that's the case now in the cemeteries, or that when the body is there and when it is being kind of eaten by the insects, birds, vultures, or any kind of insects, why don't you try to protect that? It is the same body, it's the same persons that you have been trying to protect. So he is saying, it's the same body, it's the same body, it's the same person's body that you are so attached before and trying to protect all the time. And so, why don't you try to protect now? And if you don't protect now, if you are not so attached now, then why do you have to be attached so before that, in the past, before the death? When someone is still alive with the same body, why do you get so attached to it? Why do you get so obsessed about it? And so with that understanding, then we reflect, contemplate, and try to let go of obsessiveness, kind of let go of being too controlled, try to let go of being too protective, unnecessarily too protective, which is not unhealthy, whether it is in relations, any kind of relationship, parent, children, when the parent becomes too protective, too controlling, the children doesn't like, and that create a distance in the relationship, especially after they have grown up. And it's the same in the partner, in someone's, whether you are married or not married, in someone's relationship. People want to have more spaces for themselves. Not someone being too obsessive, controlling, protective. And so anyway, by reflecting, then we let go of that kind of obsessive, controlling, protective, too protective. And when you are able to do that, it gives you much peace in yourself. You don't have to be like a helicopter parenting. And so, of course, there is helicopter parenting, there is helicopter husband, wife. Okay, so not only parent, there is helicopter husband and wife, helicopter partner. And when there is that, you are always unhappy, unnecessary worries. So when you are able to kind of let go of that kind of being too controlling, too protective, it gives you relax yourself, you release from that. You yourself become much more spacious, calm, and you give the space for others. And when there's space, the relationship better. When you don't give space to each other, it's very hard to have good relationship. Everyone needs a space. When you are too protective, it's hard to give that space. It's hard to give that space when someone becomes too protective. And so therefore, so letting go of that, reducing that, subsiding that kind of, and therefore you yourself is more peaceful, more happy, and you make your partners, others, give them more space and make them more happy. And then, the relationships are much better, definitely. So, is there any questions? Yes.
Considering emptiness, is there a reality to be found?
Yes, there is a reality to found. That is the emptiness. So emptiness can be found, and that is the reality. But the emptiness itself is empty. Okay. So therefore, you cannot grasp on emptiness itself. So there is no inherently existing or independently existing emptiness. So if you try to find that emptiness within that object of that, then again you cannot find it. And so therefore there is nothing nothing which is inherently or independent existence, even the emptiness, even the fully enlightened state, even the path. Yeah. So I think when we say whether it can be found, I think there's two ways of looking at that. On conventional level, whether it can be found or not, definitely on conventional level, when you try to analyze, the reality can be found, emptiness can be found. But if you analyze on ultimately, on ultimate level, with the wisdom analyzing the ultimate, then even in that sense, then nothing can be found. Even the emptiness cannot be found. Even the reality cannot be found in that level. So, and that therefore, that is why it is called emptiness is also. So there is emptiness or emptiness. Then emptiness or emptiness or emptiness, and endlessly. So
when we look on a conventional level at a partner, for the reality of the partner, I mean, how is that determined?
when we say reality, there are many different levels of reality. But when we talk normally reality, we are talking about the ultimate realities. So, of course, again, there are so many different levels of reality in all the phenomena. And the impermanence of that objects is one reality. The nature of that person's being impurity, physical impurity, is one reality. The presence of that being in the nature of some in the sufferings or dissatisfactions is another reality. And then that person's functioning as a person, as who he or she is, that is another reality of that person. And then that person's being someone's mother's or someone's father's, someone's son, daughter, or someone's husband, wife, and that is again another reality of that person's on conventional levels. And so that, and then of course on ultimate level, then we have, if we try to find within that aggregate of that person, of your partner, who is that partner, then again you cannot be found within any of the aggregates or any part of the aggregates. And so that is the ultimate reality or nature of that person. And so then when we say finding the reality, then we can again think in many different levels of reality. Yeah. So normally when we talk about emptiness, we are talking about more the ultimate realities. Yes?
Oh, I just wanted to make a couple of, well, I guess I wanted to make maybe some suggestions to 2017, if this works, based on the text. Just looking at, because the original verses where Geshela was mentioning, verse number 40, where there's an intermediary and someone tries to make themselves look better than they are, right, for an arranged marriage or something. Doesn't that happen in the 2017 context when people create their profiles on Match.com or these dating sites? Like where I'm a 20-year-old buxom blonde or something. That kind of stuff, even though it's written then, it seems like it's also something's here, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Then I was also thinking that when you were speaking about how in the next verse where, people go, you go into, you take out loans and stuff to try to impress your partner, that is totally life now. I mean, credit card debt is so high. People do, surgeries again, so, facelifts, other kind of lifts and stuff like that. So I thought, this stuff is really, really relevant to today as well. And then there was one other thing I wanted to say from last week's. When Amy asked the question about her daughter, how she can remove attachment, not be so attached, and Geshela, I believe, said, do what you can do, and then after that, stop worrying, don't think about it. And Geshela also mentioned his mother and how she's not doing well and how they're doing everything he can, and then after a point, you just don't think about it. And then I was thinking, in this culture, for us, to stop thinking about something, it's almost obscene. If you think about it, it's such a wonderful thing. Say, in our culture, it's like, did you think about me today? If you're in a relationship, I thought of you all day long. It's like where in our culture, it seems like to prove we're a good partner, someone has to be on your mind all the time. And to all of a sudden stop thinking about something so we can actually do our work or our job or be healthier. It's like, it's a sin. It's incorrect. So, Geshela, just hearing that is like a mind explosion. Like your mind explodes. It feels so much better. You can let go of all of this. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely, I think there is a little bit of that. Yeah. It's a different culture, definitely, and each culture has been influenced by different things. Tibetan culture has definitely been influenced by the Buddhisms over the centuries, and we care about your loved ones, dear ones, whether it's your parent, whether it's your siblings, or whatever, friends, whatever. But we don't have this culture of constantly calling all the time, every day. It's in your heart. You keep in your heart, and whenever it is needed, you try to be there if you can be there. But I don't have to call every day, every week, every month to let them know I care about them. They don't expect that. I don't need to do that. And so it makes much easier. They are not expecting me to call every week, and if I don't call them a week or even months, they start feeling, oh, he doesn't love me, he doesn't care me. And so it also gives you more space for both sides. Sometimes you feel like you need to call, here's people. Maybe that person doesn't want to come to a call, but when you call, then they have to take it. Even when they need it, maybe I need a break now, I need a rest. And that person called, because if he or she doesn't call, maybe they might think that, but if doesn't call, then again maybe they might think they didn't call. So it's culturally, there is definitely that part, overdoing in a lot of time to show your whatever, your feelings or whatever. Is, I feel a little bit like overdoing it, and that can have many different effects in different ways. So and same thing, even in whether it's my teachers or my parents or my siblings, my brothers, even though we care about each other, even though, and of course whenever there is help needed, we try to be there as much as possible. But even there is not much hardly of, in culture, even there is not much of thanking of much as well. In this culture, you have to say thank you everything, every time, all the time. If you don't say it, people think you don't appreciate that. And then that becomes kind of really being from here, it becomes from here. And there is one Indian saying, which I always like, and sometimes in a family and friend, there's no sorry, no thank you. And people doesn't get hurt because I didn't say thank you for that. Especially to say every time. Maybe there might be point. But more of that, it is more than saying, it is how you, what do you do? How do you just respond, you know? People doesn't say much, but they are there when they need it. And in some places, people say, I care about you, but when you need it, you are not there. So practice is more important than the word. And I think that is where it comes. Practice is more important to the word itself. In now modern day, the word has become more important than the practice. Less word, less practice. And so I think just culturally speaking, because of that, I just wanted to kind of comment on that a little bit. So yeah, any questions? Yes.
Yeah, a live face isn't the same as a dead face.
What life isn't the same as?
A live face
Uh-huh.
isn't the same as a dead face.
Uh-huh. Well, he will come here later, okay? He will come on that, because he knew you were going to ask. Shantideva has maybe some clairvoyance. In the future, there will be someone, Gil, coming and he's going to ask that question. So I must start writing now. So he started writing during the 7th, 8th centuries. No, there will be coming new where then coming, I'm not attached to the dead body, and also maybe I'm not attached to the body, I'm attached to the feeling, and he go through all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, then we'll do dedications. Yeah.
Page 235. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha, and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state.
May the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more.
244, for His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Awake, Kimande, and ande wa melu jongwene, chen sing wa tenzin gatsoi, jape site badu kandu joi, su chan jin dong dong.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.